long time no see. Welcome to another episode of White Lithium Eurotrash. Today I'm going to be taking the first pass across this Toyota Land Cruiser because A, I need to drive it back to Illinois in a day or two, and B, I need to open up the garage because the green 84 turbo Saab is coming home from paint and body, and this is where that baby's going to live because, as you know, the Saab 900 Turbo is my passion. That's like really my baby. This is just kind of this is beautiful. This car will hold more value long term, but I don't know. It's not everything to me the way the Saab 900 Turbo is. But so here's what we're going to do. Okay. Not much space for a lot of work. We've got a front main seal kit with gaskets for the front covers. We have so the power steering pump on this truck surprisingly is the same as a early generation Saab 900, and I just happen to have a power steering pump sitting around, and it needs one, so we're going to put a power steering pump on it. We have an oil pressure sending switch. We have a little bit of trim that goes over the windshield wiper. We have the clip that holds the rod that supports the hood. We have an output shaft retaining seal for the transfer case. We have the two links for the front sway bar. We have a seal for the front differential pinion. And then we have the two, this is the thing that we need most because we're hemorrhaging fluid out of the transfer case. These are the two seals for the transfer case. Some O-rings that I'm going to use to make it not leak out of some other plugs. We have a new air filter for the Weber downdraft. We have some linkage parts for the throttle linkage. It's sticky. I need to sort out why that is. And we have some new wiper blades. So here's where I'm going to start. I need a 46 millimeter socket that's not going to be until tomorrow in order to get the crank pulley off, which I think is going to be a grind. So I'm going to let this sit and start here where the worst of the problem is and hope for the best. All right. Well, I can't even get this job done correctly because they jankified these clips, but there's, like, come on, seriously? There's one thing down. We might have been doing some backfiring at some point. There we go. One down. You know, in one sense, you would think, man, how hard would it be for you guys to just do some of these tiny little things before you sell your car on Bring a Trailer? Or whatever, but it's these, you know, I think I have kind of a relationship. Like, I've bought, what now, 2 cars off Bring a Trailer. I bought many used cars, but like, sight unseen, but Bring a Trailer is another situation in and of itself because you really get these, flippers on Bring a Trailer. And for most people that aren't going to do what I do, I almost think if you don't do work on the car yourself, you probably shouldn't buy cars on Bring a Trailer because there's this perception that Bring a Trailer has like great listings and great cars, which I think is completely false. Absolutely completely false. In fact, a lot of times people will sell a car and Bring a Trailer specifically because the buying audience isn't actually inspecting the car that close. All right, so we're going to drain out the fluid from the transfer case that we just installed in there. And I got to say, it's not looking very good. Really makes me wonder what's going on. So I'm taking off the drive shaft at both ends because obviously we're leaking out here in the rear diff too. And I get this end off and it just pours oil right out of the end of the diff. So there you go. Seals on seals is what we're doing here. So I've just taken off the rear flange And it's as if it's unbearable. It's as if somebody has put RTV around the shaft. Oh my God, this situation is so much worse than I thought. Oh my fucking God, this is bad. Oh, it's so much worse than I thought. You know, mechanics are really shady. Like, people that would do this. Like, this bearing is completely gone. So somebody took this car to somewhere and said, hey, it's leaking out of here. And instead of actually fixing it or even putting a seal in it, they just smeared some RTV around it. That's the kind of stuff that you literally cannot detect, even if you inspect a car perfectly. You can't tell that just by looking at the car. Okay, so we've got that seal popped out of there. Let's see what is lurking behind. Okay, so I got the bearing out, and honestly, the bearing doesn't seem totally destroyed. The race seems kind of okay in there. So now I'm really confused about what's happening. Let's just do this. Let's just go ahead and see how everything stacks together. We had this metal cup in here, which must be what this would be referred to as a buffer seal. Okay, put on the buffer seal. Still seated correctly. Now, the buffer seal would go to this, and where's my pinion nut? Okay, so I think it's conceivable. Oh, they didn't torque this down all the way, actually. They didn't get this pinion nut torqued down all the way. That is the problem. Okay. God, I feel like I don't know, that bearing I don't think is actually a problem. Let me see if I can't just tighten this down slightly. Okay, I tightened this flange back down, and I think we're in a better position than I thought we were originally. I think honestly they didn't get this nut tightened down all the way. It wasn't torqued down enough, and the thing was actually coming loose. All right, we obviously have a leak at the front diff. Also, we're going to do that at the same time. So I've now released the front drive shaft. This guard right here, it has some bolts up on top holding it on. I think they're going to be tricky to get to. I'm going to try and do this job without taking this guard off. You know, who knows whether I need to or not. I'm going to have to research that one a little bit. Look at the oil leaking out of the front diff seal too. Notice I have the new high torque M12 3/8. I have still yet to find a nut that I cannot remove with this smaller M12 impact. Okay, so about 4 days has passed since the last time I hit record, and we're back because we were, of course, waiting on parts. But we're gonna do some kind of ancillary stuff. The seals on the differentials, the transfer case, the front main seal are the main event, but I'm going to procrastinate on that for a minute, and we're gonna change over to my new wheels that look so cool. These ugly wheels are going to get replaced with this new, this would have been the OEM steel wheel for this car. I got that from Cruiser Core, and I went with the Nokian Outpost NAT 235/75 R15. A little bit more aggressive wheel, but these are supposed to have good on-road performance too and be a nicely balanced tire. I've had really good luck with Nokian in the past, so we're gonna swap those out and then get on to the main event. I have the wheel off we might as well do these completely gone sway bar links. Obviously, a good tip to get these in when you're doing them one side at a time is to lower the side you're working on way down, because it's an anti-roll bar, so that will extend the length, making it easier to get this all put together. All right, this has now become this, so that's a step in the right direction. Now let's put this wheel back on. It's actually kind of hard to find the correct factory lug nut, this M12 by 1.5 pitch thread lug nut. These are quite expensive, and unfortunately I had to buy them in packs of 10, even though I only need 24. But I just couldn't, I can't bear the look of these awful, rusted, hideous lug nuts that are on here. So, especially when you're putting on these new wheels, so we'll just put on these nice new ones and we'll drench them with Never Seas, as I'm prone to do. This side has obviously not had the oil dripping on it, and look, it's largely intact, but of course we're going to change it anyways. I need to find this piece right here. This is going to be an annoyance for me if I can't find this piece. Here's the one which has not been soaked in oil, is frozen on the bottom and won't impact off, so we're gonna have to cut it. Lame. Okay, so now we've done a little bit of easy work that makes us feel good. My God, what an improvement it is to have these new wheels and tires on here. They're narrower, just like more of a stock type of look, you know. But also just a better tire. I predict that even though these are much more lugged, they'll be quieter than the other ones. And, you know, these rims are made to have the round hubcap on them, should I want to. So we're going to do the last of the easy stuff now, and we are going to quickly throw this mat, because this carpet is not good back here, and I don't want to deal with it. So I got this mat that we're going to put back here. Okay, good improvement there. Now when I carry around anything in the back, I don't need to worry about it so much. If you look out here, I'm starting to acquire quite a collection. I've got 4 nice aluminum BMW wheels that I need, a bent Saab steel wheel, 2 aluminum Saab wheels, 4 Volvo hubcaps. So at some point I'm going to have to actually get organized out here, because that collection is likely to start to grow. The easy stuff is out of the way, so now it's time to start doing the prep work on the hard stuff. So probably gonna get the front end jacked up, even though it's the awesome thing about this car is that you don't really need to jack it up, because it's nice and high off the ground. Thank God it fits. Oh boy, but that radiator is going to have to come out. I'm just going to confront the reality that the radiator is coming out. But I think this hole right here, is that hole put there for you to get an extension up to get on that bolt? That would be incredible if it was. Huh. Maybe it'll do something. Drip all over my jack. So because I've already disconnected the rest of the drivetrain, and I don't really feel like taking out of the radiator, I'm going to give the starter bump a chance and see if we can break it loose that way. And because this car is just what this car is, it's rugged, it's whatever, it's not going to break. Let's put something down for me to sit on my beautiful car. How about this foam? Perfect. Here we go. All right. bump the starter. Nervous. Oh, something happened. Did we fuck it? Well, where did my socket go? It has fallen off. And let's see. Where did the socket go off to? It has rolled away. How far could it have gone? It's a big socket. 46 millimeters. Okay, somewhat predictably, the starter bump did not succeed. So we're going to let the croil soak in for a minute there. And we're going to try and get the seals out of the transfer case. At least I'll do what I can do. While I'm waiting on UPS to deliver from Napa. Which I'm like, why is UPS delivering from Napa? But they are. All right. What gem are we going to find behind this? Come on. Shit. Okay, let's put this on like this and see what happens. After the rear diffs, I'm afraid to even look inside of this. Oh. Hey, no RTV. But that's been leaking a long time, boys and girls. A long time. Just covered. All right. Let's pop that out. Look at this. I'm one taking this. We're doing it in one take. I think my few followers, they like it when I one take it. Whoa! That came right out. Now, did I get the correct seal? Did I get the correct replacement seal? Who knows? Let's take a look at what we've got. That's not the right one. That's the right one. Yay, I actually have the right part. SKF. Wow. You know, the old part does have a heavier wiper on it than the new part. Say that again. Okay. Have a little cup of oil right here. We'll put a little bit in here, like so. Okay, now we can put, oh, interesting, got a rubber piece in here. Wait a minute, why does there need to be a rubber piece in there? Somebody did a shitty fix. There's a rubber washer in there. I need to check this out. Hold on. Oh, interesting. Somebody, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Why is there a rubber washer in here? Is there supposed to be? Why would there need to be a rubber washer on around here? That doesn't, no. This is more bullshit. This is bullshit. There's no reason for that. How is oil, are they trying to seal off the spline somehow? Like, is that a factory part of this? I don't know. Okay, so no, this is absurd. It's absurd. You have so much torque on this washer that makes a seal. This is not under high pressure. This is a low pressure system. So you do not, what kind of idiot would put rubber there and think that they're solving their problem? God damn it. This is what I'm talking about. Look at how Toyota gives you a slot right there in this piece. Because you look at this piece right here, you're like, how do I get it off? You know, and you think there has to be a better way. Sure enough, they give you a slot right here that lets you remove the drive shaft without having to take off that other protective cover. And it uses 2 different size wrenches. So if you only have 1 set of wrenches, you can do it. Smart. There's some grease zerks that have never been greased. It's beautiful that they give you grease zerks. They give you grease zerks and nobody uses them. It's bullshit. This has the front output shaft for the 4-wheel drive. Has a little bit more end play in the bearing than I would ideally like. Let's get that off of there. Okay. The front one is off. Let's get this out of here. Oh. Okay. No RTV, that's good. Now, how are we going to get that seal out of there? That's going to be tricky. Okay. I'm going to have to modify this seal puller tool a little bit to help me out. I think I can still pull it off though with this tool. Let's see if that will work. No, it's a really tight fit. So the answer of where the brown rusty color was getting into the transfer case, the answer is right here. This piece is called an energizer. This is like a spring, okay? And this sits around the seal and applies pressure to the seal. That has completely failed, and I believe that water was actually getting into the transfer case. The new part also has an energizer, but I'm a little concerned the diameter seems a little bit small on it. And look at this rusted surface right here, where in principle the seal should be riding. Troubling. Okay, so we have hit a bit of a snag, which is that the transfer case output shaft seal that was sent to me is 1 millimeter too small on the outside diameter. So I believe there's a new old stock equivalent part. This is NOK, the Japanese brand, which is a partner with Freudenberg, the German brand, interestingly. There's a crossover part that Napa is going to be able to get for me tomorrow, so we're at a standstill. But obviously this has been in bad shape for a long time, and the bearing that is behind this is not in good shape, but I'm not going to deal with that now because that equates to completely rebuilding the entire transfer case. I'm not prepared to do that right now, so we're going to roll with it. Hopefully we can get a decent seal tomorrow and we'll move on. So because I'm waiting on the differential pinion seals to arrive by UPS, I can't finish the front output shaft seal on the transfer case. Napa says that they're going to have me, they don't know, but the part that I think is a crossover to this part, to the correct part, they say they're going to have for me in the morning. So we're just going to dive right in. I'm going to bite the bullet and I'm going to drain all the coolant and I'm going to take out the radiator. So this frankly looks like a really easy radiator to remove. Maybe I'll have to take off this condenser. Yeah, no problem. All right, let's do it. Okay. Come on, baby. Oh, God. Oh. Why don't I have the tool that I need, i.e. a hose puller? come off there. Come on. It's going to take a long time to drain at that rate. Let's get that off. Oh. Just when in doubt, just cut it all off. That's my new philosophy. Come on, baby. Come on, baby. Oh! Oh! Oh, God. Oh, God. It's a lot of fucking coolant. Thought this was supposed to have a drain cock on the radiator, but I don't see it. Oh, God. Oh. Oh, God. Fuck this. Koken nut grip socket again for the win. Love it. I don't really know what direction I'm going here. I am going to change the headlights so this doesn't hurt me too bad, but I want to take the grill off to get in here because I got to get on these screws to get the radiator off, and I think I have to pull off the evaporator or the condenser rather, and to get at the screws for the radiator, but I don't know. I need a manual. Okay, that took me way too long to get this radiator out. Key points are come at these bolts from the top right here, but these ones right here, you have 4 bolts holding it on. Those ones you can easily get at the top. These ones right here, you've got to loosen the condenser, get the condenser off to get behind those bolts, which means you have to get this piece off, which was frozen on. You know, everyone that has worked on this car over the years, has put fewer screws back onto it than what came with it, and I'm gonna have to try and fix that as best as I can. So I think now I actually have the space to get an impact on the crank nut right there. I guess there's that drain I was looking for earlier. Damn it. I knew it was there. So at the point we are right now, before I go and dive in and start doing this main seal, I want to get this hardware right. Because basically, every person that's been in this car and worked on this car over the years has put fewer bolts back into it than they took out of it. So I'm just going to go get some bolts and leave it in a better place than it was before. It's like someone made a mistake taking the radiator out, didn't put all the bolts back into it. Yeah, is it fine? Is it going to fall off the car? No, but I mean, this is not going to be a showroom car. Nothing I own is a showroom car. Nothing I own is a, concourse quality car because I drive them and enjoy them, and this is what I like to do. But I still, it drives me crazy when things are not totally there. Yeah, absolutely. I want to go to the gym. So I've gone to the hardware store in South Milwaukee and I've gotten some new bolts. These bolts that hold on the bracket for the radiator were completely missing, so I'm putting bolts in there. Someone had robbed a bolt out of here. I returned one there, and I'm just going to try and fill in all of the missing screws. I got some of the screws that hold these headlight surrounds on. I'm not going to put those back on yet because I have actually gotten new headlights because, of course, one of these is broken. But I'm going to get some stuff screwed on here before I get into the meat of the affair, which is the front main seal. I realize that you're just holding on the radiator, and you know what? One bolt can probably do it, but it just drives me crazy when bolts are missing. There were bolts missing all over. These bolts were missing here. I'm going to return all those. am I going to the effort of getting identical factory Toyota bolts? They're not going to be exact matches. Like, look how these have this #1 Phillips screw head on there also. But you know what? At least it'll be complete. All right, let's get this fan out of the way. I would say this is kind of an advanced fan design for the era with these turning vanes. Not in the best condition, but I don't really feel like replacing it right now. Probably should just do all the belts while I'm in here, but oddly, the alternator, it doesn't have enough travel. I don't know if this is the right alternator. It hits there before you can get the belt off. It doesn't have enough travel, so you have to take the pulley off. It's strange. I feel like that's not, there's no way Toyota would have done that. I feel like this is not the actual correct alternator. Look at this weird aluminum pulley on the power steering pump also. It just doesn't seem factory to me. The plot thickens. There's no way this is the factory power steering pump, nor is it, you know, this is just some machine shop stuff. So, and of course I have the same power steering pump from a Saab sitting around, so it just begs the question exactly what is happening here. But progress must move forward. Look at this. The idler pulley for the AC is completely frozen, completely rusted. I don't even know how that belt even... Where's the belt? The one I just took off. Oh yeah. It's just completely abrading on there. What a bunch of nonsense. Alright, more stuff to fix. Alright, now let's try and get these bolts uncovered at least a little bit. So we can see where they are, at least. That's a lot of grime in there. Well, that sucks. I guess we're gonna see if the new high torque Milwaukee M12 can break this off. That's what I'm saying. There's basically no reason to even have the 18 volt bigger impact. I still haven't found anything. This thing can't break off. What? Look at this. All freaking day. Boom. Yeah. All right. So it turns out I'm gonna need a puller to pull that crank pulley off, which I don't have with me right now. So luckily, in the meantime, since I found my cat in the neighbor's yard, the seals for the differentials were delivered by UPS. So I guess we get to get something done, and we get to finish out the evening putting those in. Okay, well that has needed to be done for a long time. This 46 millimeter socket actually helped me get this started. It didn't want to go in evenly, so it was really helpful to use that as a tool around there. Didn't take very much pressure to get it in though. Good news, this is tight, bearings good. Really pleased with that. Really pleased with that. Another day, I've got to end it. We've got the drive shaft, the rear drive shaft back on. Oh. Okay, it is several days later, 2 to 3 days later. Had a bunch of other stuff going on, parenting, stuff like that, but I've almost gotten done with all the seals on the diffs and the transfer case, but of course the front output shaft seal has proven to be a bit of a struggle on the transfer case. People keep sending me this seal, which is 70 millimeters outside diameter, when I need this one made by NOK. I don't think I'm going to get this original seal, but I've finally gone and I'm ordered one from the Toyota dealer, and we'll get it on Tuesday. Hopefully it's finally the right one. If not, I'll move on. But it's slowing me down because I need to get the green Saab into the garage. But this morning I have a couple minutes here before everybody else wakes up, so I'm going to pull off this front harmonic balancer and get this front main seal out of here. This is the puller. This is from OTC. It's possibly American made. I got it on Amazon. 5.5-inch threaded rod, and this kit, I think it was like $50. It came with the two M10 by 1.5 pitch thread bolts that are required. And I got a tap and a 10 millimeter by 1.5 pitch thread tap, and I cleaned out the holes in there, you know, because the bolts didn't really want to thread in very well. So let's get that pulled off. Let's actually, you know what, before we do this, let's make sure I've got these things in really far. You really don't want to screw up your harmonic balancer because they're out of stock and very expensive. All right, let's get this thing off of here. She's coming slowly. All right, so this is on here really tight. It's been soaked with Croil for a while. Let's see how it's gonna. It's gonna be under pressure the whole way out. Still coming. Let's see. You can see how I had to thread it in that far, and this is a 5.5-inch long stud in order to separate it. That's what we're left at right there. Couple things. I don't know if these grooves are in here, are worn in from the seal, but or if those are supposed to be there. But anyways, that is a little bit concerning to me. Luckily, I've, you know, soaking this entire cover in solvent for several days has cleaned things up quite a bit. So all that's left now is to start getting these off. Interesting that they put that came off way too easily. Way too small. What on earth? Oh, what are we gonna find? Is that a broken bolt? Nope, they're just very short. That is interesting. Very interesting. That one not gonna fit on there. Are these supposed to be that short, or are they broken? Look how short those screws are. It's weird. I'm just gonna make note that the longer bolts, this is for myself, went in the very top hole right here by the water pump and over here on the side. Not sure if that is intended, but that's the way they have been. Okay, we removed two larger bolts from the bottom here. And at this point, I think this cover will come off. Did they give me a little place to pry from? Might need to hit something with a hammer. Okay, we've got this off. And now you can see what is really concerning me, which is that the lines on this seal right here have totally, the lips have totally worn into the shaft on the harmonic balancer. That's going to be a concern. Okay. Let's get this cleaned up and then see what we're up against. Okay, let's take a look at what we have in here. Bevel cut gears. Let's get the rest of this gasket might not, probably won't even need to scrape it that hard. Nicely made. Absolutely beautiful. Last forever. That's why these things last forever. I was expecting to find a chain in there. Alright, now look here. This is the kit I got, the gasket kit with the seals for this. So only got one seal in there, so maybe this front seal, which is like the metal seal, is not meant to be replaced. If you look at this, this thing has 200,000 miles on it. This seal that's in here is national. I don't think that would have been the original seal, so perhaps this has been done once already. Look at how when it was installed, obviously they got it, this rubber has been deformed here on the outside, so I don't know, did somebody, they did this on the car, definitely. Maybe not the best job at it. Weird. Look at the inside surface of this worn seal. How it has these weird helical striations on it. That must be a feature of the seal, I would assume. The replacement seal does not have that. This component right here, this would be what you would refer to, I believe, as a buffer seal. So these grooves are meant to trap oil inside of them. And basically this limits the amount of oil which the actual seal is going to see and have to contain. Take some air and actually blow all the crap out of these lips in here. Because those lips are there for a reason. If they're filled up with stuff, they're not doing what they're supposed to do. Design feature you're going to see. Look at this cup right here. Now this is acting as another buffer seal, keeping oil, you know, basically limiting the flow of oil that is seen by the front main seal. Here you can see why those bolts need to be so short, the screws rather, because they're just going into this plate right here, which is this adapter plate that actually goes onto the engine. Normally what would happen when you replace this seal is somebody would just take a hammer and they would tap it in flush with this surface. The shoulder that at the bottom of this recess where the seal would go actually goes deeper. So I'm actually going to tap it in a little bit deeper just to hopefully get the lips of this seal riding on some kind of fresh, different steel on the shaft of the harmonic balancer to hopefully, you know, create a better seal. Alright, so it was a little bit tedious, but I've got the cover back on now, and we are ready to reinstall the harmonic balancer. And you can just see, I mean, this thing has just been throwing oil all over the front of the engine for so long. I'm gonna love to actually come in here and just like pressure wash it, which I normally would never do, but in this car I will. Alright, so a bunch of things happened today, and I've had to assemble IKEA furniture for like the past 3 hours, and God, what a terrible experience. What a terribly designed products. I don't know why there's this idea that IKEA is somehow Scandinavian design or has some sort of any sort of design integrity whatsoever. Yeah, so this doesn't really just slide on right there, so I need to get it at least to where we can put some thread on it. So let's get some, what are we going to spray on there? How about some WD-40? Maybe something to let it slide a little bit better. Let's see if we can. We've got a long way to go before we can left this on. That's my problem with this thing. I always forget it on. It is cool how just has that set up right there. Oh, I took the charger away. I have to rectify that. Well, I'm gonna have to somehow figure out a way to tap this on a little bit better. So you need to get it on about yay far before the nut will start. Now I'm gonna very gingerly tighten the nut with this impact wrench and see if it pulls on. Do not want to strip out that thread. It's moving. Does that have some balls, or does that thing have some balls for 3/8 M12? I can barely hold on to the thing. Whew! Call that a day. Look at the socket. It's cut away in the corners. I like that right on the sides. It's a good high torque socket. Okay. Call it a day. Now at least the engine's all sealed up. All right, ladies and gentlemen, now is the time that we are going to make this Land Cruiser run, because I have finally gotten the front output shaft seal for the transfer case. I did end up getting it from Toyota, the dealer, and honestly, it's a really nice component, and I think that's what I'm probably going to do with some of this stuff in the future, is just call the dealer. Notice it has this extra lip that forms a seal against those cups. Let's just see. So, see how they have these steel cups on the output flange, and this seal will obviously form some sort of labyrinth seal against that, but we need to clean this up. That's a lot of corrosion on there. Let's get started. All right, so I've taken this Scotch-Brite and I've cleaned this up as best as I can. It's kind of pitted. I think that this inner area is where the seal runs, where there isn't the pitting, which is precisely why there isn't the pitting, but obviously some corrosion had built up in here, and yeah, we'll have to see how big of a problem that is long term, but we're still in the evaluation period with this car. We need to make it not leak, and then we'll evaluate it some more before we invest future money. The new seal is a very good fit. It wants to go in there on its own. It's just already halfway in there. Going to use this 74mm tool, same OD as the seal itself, to pound it in. That went in quite easily, I have to say. Very, very good fit. Very happy with that seal. All right, let's grab that 30mm socket and tighten it up. The new seal came with grease on the inside, which is really not. I'm using a brand new nut. Okay, get that started in there. Now, oh, if I had a lift, all of this would take about half the time, but oh, okay. We're gonna need to hold on to this in some way, probably with a wrench. Okay, let's see what we can do here. While I was under here, I'm noticing that a bolt is missing right here on the oil pan, so we better fix it. Much better. I've never seen a car, of all the cars I have, this one is missing more fasteners, so part of what I'm doing obviously is just going around and just making sure there's a bolt in every hole that there should be a bolt in. Before we reinstall the front drive shaft, I'm gonna grease it with some Moly grease, some high quality Moly grease at all these zerks in the U-joints Hopefully they take some grease. I'm sure these things, if they've ever been greased at all, haven't been greased very well. Look at it take grease after all this time. Nice. To get the extra center one hidden down inside of the W joint. Let's get that all good and greased up. Get this kind of cleaned up and nice a little bit, so at least I can tell when I've got good clean grease in it. This is the American-made MacNot grease gun. I'm going to take a break from attaching the front drive shaft because I have the rear jacked up, and we are going to do a little greasing of the rear. Mostly because I forgot to do it while I had it off the car. Now that we have the seals on, we're going to go ahead and pump some high-quality oil into this transfer case, and hopefully it all stays in there. Okay, we got the work down below done, so now I'm going to start putting the belts back on the car. My plans have changed a little bit. I'm going to get a better power steering pump. Evidently there's a GM power steering pump. Things here have been so desmog and are so unoriginal that we're just going to lean into the lack of originality. I'm going to switch the carb over to a manual choke again. I'm going to completely blank off this EGR thing right here, clean it up in here. Yeah, couple suspension tweaks. Make video for a bit. Got it all back together. Seems to be running okay. Had to increase the idle speed a little bit. I'm just trying to get it running hot right now. Make sure I've got it fully filled with coolant. So far nothing's leaking from the front main seal. That's good. You know, it's an electric choke, but they didn't hook up the electric choke to anything, so basically it has no choke. It's just more, whoever owned this was just such a mediocre person, and if you ever watch my video, don't do mediocre work. So mediocre, but we're getting pretty close now. Just have to get the grill back on, connect up this evaporator. There you go. I did it. Put in the front transfer case seal, reattached the drive shafts, greased the whole drivetrain, reassembled the entire front of the engine, got all the trim and grill back on, replaced, you know, at least 6 to 8 screws that weren't present before, made stuff on there correct, put new belts on, all in 3 hours. That is something I'm feeling pretty good about. Refilled it with coolant. Let's take it for a drive after I clean up. Look at this. I need to start wearing a full body coverall, but it's pretty hot out here. Let's drive it. Let's go for a drive and let's see how we did. Why are you rolled down? Do need to send the title. I sold a BMW GS Adventure motorcycle to a guy in Texas. And need to send him the title. So we'll take a drive over to the FedEx Center. I would like to get it in 4-wheel drive, but let's not push our luck. Let's just drive it around and see if it leaks. First things first, let's get this AC on. See if it works. Now that I got the belts all tightened up and got that tensioner working. Just gotta get used to the shift pattern again. Hey, don't get my car wet. Ah, oh, damn it. Oh shoot. I need to make sure that the front wheels are not in the locked position. I had those locked at various times when I was doing this work. Lock. Oh, we are live. Exactly. That's bad. Free. Good thing I checked. Good thing. That would be very bad and crunchy. Thanks. I have to say the AC doesn't seem to be working very well. There we go. You want to hear something sad? I heard the other day that right here, this forge shop, Milwaukee Forge, which has been in business for probably over 100 years, is closing later this year. So much for this tariff policy supporting American manufacturing. There's just structural issues going on in the economy right now that are frankly really scary. Really scary. I will say that the improvement in the ride, the way that these Nokian Outpost ATs ride, is really incredible. I mean, the tires with a vehicle like this are the most important part of the suspension system, and I'm really surprised by how smooth and quiet these things are for an off-road tire. Just how much better the thing rides. It's super happy with that. Also, a decided decrease in gear noise from the transfer case now that I've got it sealed up with a good amount of fluid in it. So that's scary. The amount of reduction in gear noise that I have here is concerning. I wish I hadn't driven it as much as I did before. I've averted a near catastrophe because I've done something that I always do, and I have forgotten to tighten my lug nuts. Thank God, that was almost a disaster. Have I actually lost any? No. But that thing, this was about to be a very bad problem. So I'm gonna have to Uber back to my house and get another car. So if you look at the gap right there, that is how loose my wheels had come. I always forget this. I need to make a checklist. Take two, that was close. I don't really like impact tightening my lug nuts. And so I leave it until the car's on the ground, and this is now several times that I've forgotten to tighten my lug nuts. And this was about 10 seconds away from being a complete catastrophe. They were really loose. Really loose. Okay. Need a glass of wine after that whole debacle. What a situation.